The Senate passed legislation funding immigration enforcement agencies, allocating funds to the effort. The vote occurred Friday morning, following weeks of delays and backlash related to an unrelated settlement fund. This legislation provides funding for President Donald Trump's immigration enforcement agencies. The passage came after opposition focused on a separate, unrelated settlement fund valued at $1.776 billion, which had threatened to derail the bill. The reporting confirms the Senate passed the immigration enforcement bill without including limits on the Trump settlement fund. Friday morning, after weeks of delays and fierce backlash to an unrelated $1.776 billion settlement fund that threatened to derail the bill. A federal judge struck down a Trump administration policy that had made it harder for immigrants from dozens of countries to receive final decisions on their status in the United States. The policies, enacted after the shooting of National Guard members last year, had reportedly barred immigrants from 39 African, Asian, Latin American, and Middle Eastern countries from receiving final decisions on things like asylum, work permits, green cards, and citizenship applications. Skye Perriman, president and CEO of Democracy Forward, stated that the ruling reaffirms a basic principle. The federal government cannot shut down lawful immigration pathways or discriminate based on a person's country of origin. The agency within the Homeland Security Department that handles asylum applications typically only grants status to people who are already inside the United States when they applied. The judge noted that immigration judges handling cases at the border are not affected by this ruling. A spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security did not immediately respond to a request for comment regarding the ruling. The ruling itself did not affect the process by which immigration judges grant asylum to those stopped at the border. New applicants for Medicaid in Nebraska must prove they are meeting work requirements or qualify for an exception in the month immediately before they enroll, according to officials. The requirements stem from federal mandates that affect millions of enrollees across 43 states, including Washington, D.C., who must prove they are working, volunteering, or attending school for at least 80 hours a month to keep benefits. However, the state confirmed that these changes will not affect Medicaid enrollees whose yearly renewal is scheduled for May or June of this year. The first group of re-enrollees expected to be affected by the rules are those whose yearly renewal is set for the end of July. The Congressional Budget Office estimates that while the requirements could save the federal government $326 billion over the next decade, they also project that around 5 million people could lose coverage each year between 2029 and 2034. Officials noted that the final impact on Medicaid enrollment and spending is difficult to determine, as the variation in how individual states choose to implement these new rules will likely affect how many people lose coverage. Graham Platner is denying accusations of being physically rough with former girlfriends, stating that reports in the New York Times and other controversies are signs his campaign is gaining momentum. The denial comes as Platner continues his campaign efforts in the Maine Senate race. He framed the controversy surrounding his personal life as evidence of growing support for his campaign. The reporting requires keeping the focus narrowly on this development, avoiding unsupported conclusions about the race. The immediate focus remains on Platner's campaign activities in Maine. The New York Times and other controversies are a sign his campaign is gaining momentum. The USDA reported that the most recent case of the New World screwworm fly was the first detected in Texas since 1966. Agriculture officials noted that livestock are vulnerable to the fly based on how they are handled. Lee Haynes, an associate research professor at the University of Notre Dame, stated in an email Thursday that standard practices like shearing or dehorning can cause skin breaks that put cattle at risk. However, U.S. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rowland stated that the fly does not infest food, and officials believe it is unlikely to damage beef production. This news comes as consumers are already facing record prices. Federal and state officials had previously been working to keep the parasite out of Texas, which is home to an estimated $17 billion worth of the nation's cattle. The fly was detected in Mexico late in 2024, after years of being contained at the southern end of Panama. The next step involves monitoring the situation following the detection in Texas. Shares in Musk's Texas-based SpaceX are scheduled to go on sale to the public next month. On June 12th, millions of new shares in the company will begin trading on the stock market for the first time. SpaceX is a company focused on space exploration, including plans to colonize Mars and develop artificial intelligence data centers in space. It is important to note that SpaceX operates separately from Elon Musk's electric car manufacturer, Tesla, though some observers suggest the two companies might merge next year. The initial public offering aims to raise a significant amount of capital. SpaceX has announced that there are over 550 million shares available, which the company hopes to sell at $135 per share. If the sale proceeds as planned, SpaceX could achieve a valuation of around. This valuation would place it larger than rivals like Anthropic and OpenAI, though smaller than major technology firms such as Alphabet, Apple, Microsoft, and Amazon. FIFA has admitted an error on its website allowed a small number of fans to purchase World Cup tickets for free. The world governing body has since cancelled those tickets and informed the affected fans that they must repurchase them at full price. According to FIFA, approximately 60 fans received a communication on Wednesday, June 3rd, regarding tickets that were allocated at no charge due to a prior payment issued during the checkout process. FIFA stated it regrets any inconvenience caused by the error. The affected tickets were understood to be for group stage matches in Toronto. A social media account highlighted ticketing errors shared a letter confirming that the fans have 7 days to pay for the tickets before they are removed from their accounts. The World Cup, hosted across Canada, the United States, and Mexico, begins on Thursday, June 11th. Fans are advised to monitor official channels for updates regarding ticket purchases. Some observers noted that certain aspects of the planned 250th anniversary celebrations were affiliated with Freedom 250. The planned events include a fireworks display across America on July 4th, alongside a planned UFC fight on the White House lawn. This UFC event was something Donald Trump first announced wanting to bring to the White House last year. The White House has stated that even though Freedom 250 is planning the event, the Ultimate Fighting Championship is paying for it. Another planned feature is a fight scheduled for June 14th, which coincides with Trump's 80th birthday. The celebration also includes a massive 16-day state fair running across the National Mall from June 25th to July 10th. The scope of the celebration involves multiple groups, including America 250, which was established by Congress 10 years ago to plan non-partisan events. On June 6 of last year, Donald Trump announced on his social media platform Truth Social that he had inspected the site intended for a new ballroom at the White House. He stated that the project would go up quickly and would be very much in keeping with the magnificent White House itself. The announcement related to building the ballroom where the East Wing currently sits. Trump noted that the East Wing, which housed several rooms including the First Lady's office, was undergoing modernization as part of the building process. The East Room, which serves as the main space for official White House ceremonies, was previously used to host King Charles' state banquet in April. The scope of the proposed addition was described as an exquisite, ornately designed space, intended to be a significant increase in capacity compared to the East Room. The announcement was made while discussing broader plans for the White House, which included proposals for a rooftop drone port and underground facilities. The next step remains focused on the development of this site. Canada's government has released a national artificial intelligence strategy, outlining how the country plans to adopt the new technology over the next decade. Announcing the plan on Thursday, Prime Minister Mark Carney stated that the arrival of artificial intelligence is inevitable. The strategy includes more than earmarked for programs designed to boost illiteracy and expand its use across both businesses and government services. The government is also pledging investments specifically for Canadian AI companies. This funding structure, according to the strategy, could allow the government to take equity stakes in those businesses. The plan comes as government data indicated that only 12% of Canadian businesses used AI between mid-2024 and mid-2025. The strategy also aims to support research by funding fellowships and increasing the number of research chairs at Canadian universities focused on AI.